All righty, sports fans, welcome on in. It is the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on ESPN 792.1 ESPN. So glad you could join the show. Fun show today, fun weekend. It's Monday. It's a fun day. If you miss part of the show, you just catch portions of it. Don't worry about it. Just go download us. ESPN 700sports.com. You can get the podcast. And you also get a stream. So if you aren't in a vehicle, you can listen to a stream. You can get the app. You can listen to us in the ESPN 700 app. You can do all of it. Anyway, so glad you could join us today. A lot of crazy things going on. But I do want to let you know this. We're proud to be a part of the Utah ESPN radio network. So happy to be affiliated with ESPN. It's a lot of fun. Great people. So got some hot headlines for you this weekend. And of course, we love the hot headlines. There are things that happen that we like to talk about. So one of them is Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy looks like he's going to get paid to the tune of $265 million. It averages out to be, I think, $52 million a year. And you have to say, I mean, I think everyone wins in this situation. And they win from this respect. The 49ers got Brock Purdy for cheap. I mean, dirt cheap. He was the last player selected in the NFL draft. They call it Mr. Irrelevant, right? And he's been anything other than irrelevant. I mean, he took the team to a Super Bowl, led them to a championship. This is a guy that's clearly shown that he can win. And I guarantee you there's a lot of other teams that have quarterbacks. They don't necessarily feel that way. Quarterback is always the hottest commodity in the NFL. It's just one of those things where there just aren't that many of them. I'm really not sure why. I mean, really, it's just like, it goes to say how difficult it is to play the position. It also goes to maybe we're not developing them like we should. We certainly have no problem finding wide receivers and defensive backs and offensive, defensive linebackers, all these, but quarterback is a different breed. And this is the case in point. It's the one position on a football field that does not require physical greatness. Does not require the strongest arm, the fastest feet, the greatest agility. But it requires someone that has physical and mental prowess to mesh those two things together and make decisions consistently and to perform under pressure. I mean, there's just a lot of things that, like if you really thought about it, everybody else is in motion. Everyone is like they're either attacking or they're moving or they're touching someone or there's contact constantly. The quarterback's just static. He just stands there. And you got and like the better you stand there, the more consistent you stand there, the better you're going to be. And if you do have to move, you got to find a way to still stand, still deliver accurately. So it's a really, really tough thing. But the 49ers certainly won here because they found the Hope Diamond. They found something rare and unusual. You just don't find with the last pick in the draft. Very rarely do you see quarterbacks that aren't, drafted of any significance being great. And you see guys play and have good careers and do all that stuff. But to win and to go to a Super Bowl is very unusual. Kurt Warner, I think you could say Johnny Unitas many, many moons ago, but most guys are come well known. They come with a lot of pomp and circumstance. And Brock Purdy didn't. And so the 49ers got a lot out of him for nothing. And now he's being paid, and everyone's like, well, no, he's really got to, if he wants a team around him, he's got to kind of take a back seat. And I don't agree with that. I don't think his deal is like he's breaking the bank by any stretch of the imagination. I do think that if you average this out, they didn't pay him first round money for the last 5 years. So they've been able to, maybe if you average it out, maybe he's going to be worth about $40 million a year. I don't know the exact math, but they've got a heck of a deal for a long time. And it would be pretty cold-hearted to just to say, hey, we're not totally sure about you, even though you did take us to Super Bowl, you did a lot of things. And you could argue about Brock Purdy's game, and you could say it's kind of within a framework of the middle of the field. You're not seeing a lot of throws to the sidelines. You're not seeing a lot of throws deep. He's had the luxury of Christian McCaffrey. But that's any team. Any team that's any good has a lot of good players. And I hate that when they say, well, he's only a good quarterback because he has good players. You still have to throw the football. You still have to throw the football to a guy if you have a good team. And now I do remember when Tim Tebow was playing with the Denver Broncos, and it just wasn't quite everything. And he's a fiery guy, and he's he's a competitor, and he's all these things, and a good human being. But then when Peyton Manning came in, all of a sudden these wide receivers became world beaters. Like Peyton Manning just elevated the whole mess of them from Tim Tebow. It was clearly a significant upgrade at that quarterback position. And I don't think Brock Purdy's been that player. He's earned his stripes. There's no question about it. So I think the thing with Brock Purdy is just how much of a dent does this actually make, with into the 49ers. And it's gonna have its challenges. But the biggest challenge isn't necessarily with the team that you put around him. You've got guys getting older. Some of your most productive guys. Christian McCaffrey, he's had ankle and knee injuries. George Kittle's, Deebo Samuel has had a lot of injuries. So those guys going to be around. They're going to be healthy. Because so much of your success you got to have those guys around. But the challenge now with Brock Purdy is they're going to look at him different. Like when you get paid, you just get looked at different. The expectation maybe becomes unrealistic for people, but it certainly is a different ball game that he's under. He was that quintessential backup does great. I've heard that before, and so you do no wrong. See, when you're the underdog, you do no wrong. And now you're the overdog, and it's really hard to do any right. The only way you do right is to win a Super Bowl. And the way it works in San Francisco, it's like, yeah, that's a Super Bowl, but you got to win more than one. You got to win more than one. So it's a really tough situation for Brock Purdy to be in. And I was really wondering if, how this was going to get done. I don't think it's a question of, was it going to get done? And a lot of the question was, well, is he going to take less money? And it doesn't appear that he's certainly kind of in the range of some of these guys that have been paid recently, but he hasn't blown it out of the water. In fact, I think he's had more success than like a Kyler Murray or a Tua or Trevor Lawrence. Now, here's one I'll throw out at you. I mean, you could argue that Brock Purdy's had more success than Josh Allen. Not personal success, and they're certainly not the same quarterback. And Josh Allen, uber talented in so many ways. Like Josh Allen just oozes with talent. But has he won like Brock Purdy has? And he's gotten places. They've had winning seasons, but has he got his team to a Super Bowl yet? And I think a lot of people thought last year was the year, and he just can't quite seem to get there. So Brock Purdy's done a lot, and a lot of things that people of quarterbacks they think are really good, maybe even better. All right, let's move on to our next hottest headline. Scottie Scheffler. He is the best golfer in the world. And I like watching Scottie Scheffler play golf. I really do. Part of why I love to watch him hit his driver. Because it's just fascinating to see that happen. Because his swing is a little unorthodox. And it really feels like he's swinging out of his shoes. And yet he's a fairly accurate driver of the golf ball. Now, he kind of whined earlier in the week, and he said, this is ridiculous that we have to not play lift, clean, in place. And he whined, he complained, he did all this stuff. And I made reference to it last week. I even made reference to the whole, everyone has to deal with the issue. Arnold Palmer says, none of us are immune to the conditions on the course. Everyone's playing with the same struggle, the same challenge, and deal with it. And it looks like he did. The course played tough yesterday. It wasn't super easy. You had a lot of people that were sliding backwards. And so you like on a tough day, you like where it's been a tough week. And on top of it, he also had a driver. Apparently, a lot of these clubs, these driver clubs, are non-conforming. I would love to know what non-conforming means. I mean, is it traditional norms? Like, do they have mohawks? Do they have they colored their hair? Have they got piercings on their clubs? What is it? What's non-conforming? I'm joking a little bit about that. I'm sure it has to do with the weight, the surface, there's probably all these specifications. And apparently a lot of players had issues. But here's the thing. This is a major. And to show up with all of these kind of challenges, to show up with the struggles, the distractions, and Scottie Scheffler's been a little bit off this year compared to last year. Was an unbelievable year, but for him to actually, kind of ride through some of these difficult things and to win, that's what you love about players like that. I mean, that's why you become the number one player in the world. That's why you find a way to win it. And really, he was the only one. He won by 5 shots. So he was the one player that found a way to elevate his game significantly above everyone else. Now, on the flip side of that, Jon Rahm, who finished second, just had a horrible letdown. He was tied with only 9 holes to play, and he ends up coming up 7 shots short of Scottie Scheffler. Now, Jon Rahm is a guy who's won on tour. He's won majors. He's a fiery guy. And he goes, he says, it's been a long time. a while since I've had that much fun on a golf course for 15 holes. But then it kind of just all fell apart. And it kind of it goes to a conversation, we had before, just about, all right, what happened? Why did you have a meltdown? Why do you lose a tough, and it's not that John Rahm should have won this, but it certainly is a tough deal when like you should win and you really don't. And so it's really tough for it's a really put your money where your mouth is kind of sport. It's a sport where, it's not like we're going to pay you on potential like they do in the NFL or the NBA or Major League, any other sport. It's like, no, you have to prove your worth. You have to prove beyond any doubt every single week. Like, you don't just show up to an event and you get money. And they may have some like appearance money or something like that. I mean, they should have just given Tiger Woods appearance money back in his heyday, because he brought craziness to golf. So when you're out there, like, you can't say, well, our defense didn't do very well today, or this guy was injured, or this guy didn't play well, and so it really hurt us, in our run game, or whatever. Like, you're all by yourself. You have nothing. You have no one else to blame but you. And you're also the only person that has anything to do with your success. And I think that's one of the most fascinating things. I'm a lover of golf. I've loved it my whole entire life. But playing, and I played golf tournaments. I played in crowds before, and sometimes played really poorly, and sometimes not. But it's all on you. And there's something about that that's like appealing. But it's also, there's something about that that's limiting. I think one of the greatest feelings you have in sports, at least for me, was when you're with a group of guys and you're on a team and you're all clicking, and you're just in a rhythm. You go down the field and score, and you get the ball and you just keep scoring. You're in sync. And there's something about bringing and being a part of a collective group. And there's a lot, and having to rely on other people, and motivating and getting communicating with people, and there's a lot more that's involved in it, and it brings out more of maybe your talents and your personality, and to kind of have to rely on all these different people and to be able to do it. I think golf is, man, it's a tough one. This is a really tough one. Like, you can't hide. There are positions on a football field you can actually hide. Quarterback isn't one of them. Quarterback's a little bit like playing. You're like right out in front of everyone. So when you succeed and it's you fail, it's you, and people see it. It's a very, very tough thing to have happen. So, big time on the PGA Tour, big time. So, to win that event for Scotty Scheffler, I guess he's always the guy that gets like he enters the tournament. He's the guy. He's the favorite. Probably him and Rory are the favorite. Another thing happened over the weekend, and it's something that in the back of my mind is fascinating to me. So Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, they started the WNBA, and they're rivals, right? And they go back, and they go back to college. One won 1 year, one won the other. They were drafted in the same year. And there's all this kind of, one player's black, one's white, the different styles of game. And it goes back to kind of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and so many of these, you know, um, the WNBA is trying to find relevance, and Caitlin Clark is a player that has brought interest to it because her game is so much similar to what they do in the NBA, and her game's different than anyone else in the WNBA, and a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people didn't like it when Magic Johnson came along. A lot of people said, Larry Bird winning is, well, the only reason he's winning because he's, getting the rookie of the year and this and that and whatever is because he's white. And they started a rivalry, Magic and Bird. And they took the NBA that was struggling. Like the NBA was not like, oh man, we got, this is compelling. This is, it was in massively third place behind baseball and football. Maybe even fourth behind hockey. Who knows? All I know is that it was some slim pickings and some rough times, and these guys kind of changed it. So you want to change your sport, WNBA, then ride the coattails of these change agents, and I think they're trying to do that. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, that's the hot headlines, or at least the ones I want to talk about today. There are other headlines and things that happened. Hockey player, of course, his dad passed away. He continued to play. And what's it like? Should you play after the death of a loved one in your sport, or should you not? We'll talk about that and so much more when we return. But before we leave, it's ESPN Festival of Tees, powered by the Utah Golf Association. Each day, ESPN 700 is giving away rounds of golf from the best courses in the state. Listen to Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. That's me from 10 to 11, and the Sean O'Connell Show from 11 to 2. And also The Drive with Spence Checketts from 2 to 6 for your chance to win each day from ESPN 700. Text PGA, that's the word, PGA, to 877-353-0700 to play at Glenmore for one round of 18 holes of golf. We'll be right back. This is ESPN 700, 921 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on ESPN 792.1 FM. So glad you could be a part of our show today. If you missed part of anything, just download the Down and Dirty wherever you get your apps, or you can listen to us on ESPN700sports.com, or you can get the ESPN 700 Sports app. So you get the show anytime, anywhere, anyhow. Or you can tell Siri or, whomever, just play ESPN 700. So we love to have you listening. Love everywhere. I got to ask you a question, Martin, because this stuff pops up from time to time.
Okay.
And I try not to get sucked into it.
Okay. Where are we going?
But why in the world as a society, are we so fascinated with true crime or crime or just all of this stuff? Because I grew up with a guy who's, this is just so weird. He's now on death row. Nicest guy in the world. Great student. It was a part of the student council, was perceived as a very nice, well thought of person. Anyways, he technically has been described as a serial killer because he's been convicted of murdering multiple people. And of course, to me, it has a special interest, but I mean, it's insane how many people follow this kind of stuff. I'm just curious, just for a brief moment here, why in the world people are interested in true crime?
I think it's the mystery and solving it and trying to figure it out, Sherlock Holmes style. You try to go along with the character and figure out what's happening and all that. Like, I kind of agree. I asked that same question. My mom always watches those shows when I go visit her back in Chicago. She always watches those like 24/7, like 2020 shows. I'm just like, Mom, why are we watching this for 4 hours? Like, let's go do something else. But I don't know. I mean, people like that type of crime and discovery.
Of course, Keith Morrison. Oh, that DNA, that pesky DNA. Like people are just into it. They're just waiting to. When I was at Bonneville, they started this podcast called Cold, and I remember because a lot of people were doing podcasts, whatever, and this thing just blew up.
Yeah, I mean,
and it was just fascinating. People were just fascinated by it. And I'm fascinated by how people can do all this stuff to other people. Like, what's wrong with us? I don't understand. We need to be nicer to one another.
I know.
Martin, would you stop being so mean to me? Could you just be a little bit nicer?
I'm trying, okay? I am trying, all right?
Okay. I came across another article about the Winnipeg Jets, Mark Scheffler, who his father passed away, and he's been in the middle of the NHL playoffs. Actually scored a goal. He decided to play after the death of his father. Now, my father never passed away when I was playing, but I did have my grandpa passed away while I was playing professional football. And of course, Brett Favre, his father passed away shortly before he was going to play on a Monday night game with the Green Bay Packers. And I just remember actually watching this with Brett Favre and being very impressed by how he handled himself. And it's one of those things where, like, you certainly wouldn't fault someone for not playing. I don't think anyone in the world would say, "Oh yeah, I think you're a terrible human being. You've let your teammates down. How could you dare not play in the game? Your whatever, your father, your why, someone close, dies. And yet inevitably, it seems like people always play. Like they don't stop playing in that circumstance. And the comment everybody always makes is, well, that's what he wants. And I don't know if it's what he want, because they're dead. So they can't tell you what they really want. And you have to wonder if the motivation, and I'm not saying it's a callous one, but maybe it's a way of kind of a cathartic way of dealing with it. Because I think one of the worst things you do is to do nothing, where you actually you just sit around, and then and then your mind kind of wanders, and to kind of be doing something and to be involved in something kind of helps you. And I think one of the things that happens is, like, before you start playing a game, you're always nervous. Like, you have pregame jitters, pregame nerves. And when you have the death of someone, it takes the edge off. It's like you're kind of numb. It's almost like, I don't want to say you don't care, but you just realize this isn't that big a deal. There's a lot of other things way, way more important than doing this. And so you kind of throw caution to the wind. You kind of, I because I think some people think, oh, there's a lot of pressure to perform because you want to do well. Because then if you do poorly, then it makes it like 10 times worse, because you're already sad about someone dying, and then you don't play well on top of that, and then it makes it 10 times worse. But I really think people they just don't give a crap. They're just like, look, I'm sad. I don't think anything's going to take that away from me right now, and it shouldn't. Grieving is a process and has its own timeline. You kind of work through things as you work through them. But I just think, it's a fascinating dynamic that normally doesn't happen. Like, you don't normally have that feeling, that mindset. You're not normally grieving when you're going to perform in a sporting event. It's just not how it is. Now, I did have, as I said, my grandpa passed away, and it was kind of an interesting set of circumstances. At the time, it was my second year in the NFL, and after my second season, I went and played in the World League, which was a great experience. I'm really glad I did it. People made fun of me because I did it, and they're like, real NFL players don't go play in the World League. It was the best thing in the world. So there are a lot of guys that played in the World League and had massively successful careers in the NFL. But I'm playing in the World League, and we're playing in Germany, which was kind of, the whole World League is just fun. Like, how you travel, the whole thing. We're just on a commercial airline. The players just scattered all over this airplane. Most of the biggest guys, of course, are right in the middle. How they have the two side rows, and then they have like 3 to 5 in the middle on those big planes that fly across the ocean. Most of the big guys are stuck in the middle somewhere. It's a miserable flight, it's horrible. We get to Germany and we practice like immediately. So we're there the whole week. We're practicing, and they're like, don't call home, don't call anyone, because it's very expensive. And at the time, the only thing you could call was on your phone in your hotel. And there was no other way. In fact, we had a player who ran up a $650 phone bill because he didn't really realize this, and he was calling home, and he didn't really talk long. They just charge you a lot. So we're over there, we play the game. One of the weirdest experiences of my life. We show up, and we're in Frankfurt, Germany. We show up to the game. Every single person is at the stadium, and we show up 2 hours before the game starts. And they had a festival, a beer garden. And so everyone is having a good time. And I'm like, I was stunned by this. And there's about There was about 45 to 48,000 people. This is the World League. So this is like, okay, this is interesting. The game starts, and we're playing the, I think the Frankfurt Galaxy. I think that was what their name was. They had fun names. Barcelona Dragons, London Monarchs, the Orlando Thunder. I think it was the Sacramento Surge. Great names. So we were playing this game, and we're killing them. And by halftime, all of the people switch around. So now they're cheering for us because they don't really understand the game. They just say there's a party. It's kind of a sporting event. We kind of understand it. We don't understand it. All we know is that we want to cheer for the winner. So by the time the game is over, they are our fans, and they're all cheering, and nobody leaves. And we're running around the perimeter of the stadium after the game's over, and they're just having a grand time. And it was just so surreal because it's like, never have I ever experienced anything like that with the visiting team going, yeah, we like you guys better. We're going to cheer for you. So I have this crazy experience in Germany. It was really fun though. It was a great experience, and pretty excited about that game, about the season we're having. We're doing well, and in fact, that was the advice that I was given. If you're going to go play, you better play well, because if you don't play well, don't come back, because you're not an NFL player. So there was a lot of pressure. I get home, and I call my dad. And my dad said, hey, I just want to let you know that your grandpa passed away. And I was like, when? He goes, a week ago. And I was just crushed. I mean, I just had a great relationship with my grandpa. I love my grandpa. My grandpa had, I think, 30 something grandchildren, very close to all my cousins and aunts and uncles growing up. I just love my grandpa. My grandpa went to every one of my games growing up as a kid. He would stand on the sidelines. He would call me on the phone in the middle of the winter and tell me that he was watching me play, and he had all the games on videotape, and he'd watch them. And so I was really devastated by this news. I was very close to my grandpa, and I said, "Why didn't you tell me?" I go, I would have come home. I would not have played. I absolutely would have come home. I was not ever going to miss my grandpa's funeral. And so my dad, and to his credit or detriment, I was mad at my dad at the time, but he's like, I didn't want anything to mess up your game. And actually, that's what my grandpa would say. Like my grandpa would say, because my grandpa did say that. Like, don't do anything to mess up this kid's game. You got to keep him focused, keep him in that game. So if it was anything that got in the way, that was unacceptable to my grandpa. And I was still like, I still think, even though he said that, now I would have liked to have known, so I could have then made the choice, because the choice was made for me. I think that's what I was more upset about. So the next week we play another game, because you're in that grind of a season. You just, it's like, okay, I got this news, and it's like, I just go on. I can't do anything about it. There's just nothing I can do. A funny note about my grandpa's funeral, though, they tape recorded it, so I heard his funeral, and my grandpa had 3 sons. So my dad, and he has 2 brothers. My dad was the eldest, and the boys spoke at my grandpa's funeral, and he had 5 daughters, and the people that were there says best funeral they've ever been to. because there were three perspectives of my grandpa from three different times in his life. And all three of them depicted exactly who my grandpa was. And my grandma hated it. And she said, "Y'all are not speaking at my funeral." And she hated it because, she wanted this rose-colored view of my grandpa. And he was anything but rose-colored. There have been two people in my life who swore, and it sounded like that's what you should say. Like, because a lot of times swearing is kind of, I don't know. I've had a love-hate relationship with swearing in my life. I actually swore on national television once on a Monday night football game, and it was clear what it was. And my grandma was watching the game, same grandma, by the way. And she was with my aunt, and she said, "Did he say what I thought he said?" And my aunt said, "No, he said vacuum. That's what he said. You read his lips wrong." So swear. Anyways, the point is, my grandpa. I think my grandpa invented swear words, and he was just one of the. My grandpa and Tony Saragusa, the two people that I've ever met in my life, that swearing actually sounded kind of cool. Anyways, my grandpa, the next week, we played a game. And after the game was over, I was all alone in the locker room. And and we'd won the game. We were playing the San Antonio Rough Riders. So I'm in a shower in this locker room in my uniform because I had to do all these interviews. And I just broke down and cried. And just really missed my grandpa, missed the opportunity to go to his funeral. And so it's kind of tough when you're in sports, when you have loved ones pass away and you either choose to or you don't choose to participate in their funeral or not go. So it's kind of a tough thing. And it really brought up a tender moment to me when I saw this. That's what sports is. It's brings out a lot of emotion is. All right, we're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to talk about should teams just play in domes all the time? That and so much more here on the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell on ESPN 792.1 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Down and Dirty here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hey, just wanted to give you some information. It's one of the cool things about the ESPN radio network. We cover a lot of sports, and you know what's going on right now. We got the NHL, Eastern Western Conference Finals, and you also have the NBA, Eastern Western Conference Finals. And guess what? You get to watch them. Well, you don't watch them, but you get to listen to them here on the ESPN network of stations. So I think we got some games tomorrow night and Wednesday, so you don't want to miss it. We'll keep you up to date on all of that. So if you're out and about, or if you just want to listen, you can tune in here on ESPN, both 791 and the Fan. We cover it all. All right, this is an interesting article about NFL teams. Now, I always think it's and stadiums, right? And so this is the question is, should NFL teams all play in domes and just totally eliminate the weather factor? You think of some of the different, like the NHL actually wants to have outdoor games, and they have outdoor games. They kind of like the idea. Now, clearly, they're in a sport where you need weather, or you need to fake weather or make weather in order for the ice to work, right? It's got to be cold. You got to use water that freezes. And that usually is associated with winter. Baseball is it's just mind-boggling to me that none of the stadiums are the same. They're all different. Some are outdoors, some are indoors. And if the weather's bad, they don't play. Soccer plays most of the time. They're typically outside. And, of course, basketball is indoors all the time. On a rare occasion, I think they've had a game outside here or there. But football kind of is one of these sports where they go, hey, some teams like it inside, some teams like it outside. I will tell you, a lot of people think, oh, it's great. You're in a dome. You've got this pristine surface that never changes. When I was in Detroit, you might say that. Back in that era, there were several of the domes that were, the ceiling was suspended by air, as in AIR, not like an error, like ERROR. And you could say it was an error, ERROR. I hated it. The artificial turf was basically some carpet that was rolled out over asphalt. It had a little bit of a cushion on it, but man, when you hit it, it didn't feel like it was a cushion. And then you had the air that was forced in, so it's pressurized. And coming in and out of the dome, you had to go through a revolving door. So you can't let the air in or out. Whatever the air was outside, that's what it was inside. So it was cold. Even though it was indoors, there was no snow or rain. It was freezing cold. We'd go to practice because late in the year, you practice there every day. Hated to practice on that turf. Oh my goodness, I hated it. It just so hard on your body and everything. Now, it was pristine. Like there was nothing with the elements. Like it was incredible. One year they had the World Cup, and they held it in Detroit, and they held it in the Silverdome, and they brought in actual grass. And they said, we can grow grass inside. And I'm like, well, why don't you then? Like any person in their right mind will tell you, any player will tell you, 1,000% I'd rather play on natural grass than on artificial turf. The new synthetic turf was coming into play. It's annoying because the pebbles get in your shoes, and it's a real thing. And it really does have, and it really is annoying. It's a better solution. Personally, I don't understand now why every team doesn't have the capability of playing in a stadium that does both. Because a lot of teams have that now, where we can go indoors or outdoors. And baseball is kind of that same thing. It's like, we'll never miss a game. And I think it should be mandatory because I love the outdoorness of playing a football game. I mean, football is designed to play outside. But it stinks when it's super rainy or snowy or cold or whatever it might be, windy. Like wind might be one of the worst things you deal with when you're playing football. Like wind and water are the worst. Snow isn't bad. Snow in some ways is kind of fun. Snow kind of takes the edge off of everything. But that went. One of the challenging things playing in Miami, the wind blew a lot, and the wind had an impact on how you threw the football, when you threw, where you threw it. It was a real thing. So for me, I honestly don't know why everyone should be under this. I mean, we talked about owners. Take out a little bit of the billions of dollars that you have on your stadium and create a place where you can have your choice. But make sure that no matter what that choice is, it's on national grass. Like I firmly believe they should just eliminate any artificial turf whatsoever. I don't care. And so here's the other thing that happens if these stadiums are now all have indoor capacity. Then you have the potential of having Super Bowls anywhere. You could have a Super Bowl in Cincinnati, Ohio, which, by the way, gets very cold in the winter. Coldest game I ever was a part of was in Cincinnati, Ohio. Not that we have to have a Super Bowl there. You can have a Super Bowl in Chicago. I mean, Chicago would be a great place for a Super Bowl. They've had a Super Bowl in New York, but they could really have a real Super Bowl, really anywhere in the country. Washington, D.C., you could go a lot of places. I mean, having a Super Bowl in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They may be the one team that says, no. The frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Maybe they're in a position where it's just like, no, we really can't do that. We like our stadium where it is. Well, you can still have your stadium. You can still call it Lambeau Field. But and by the way, the Ice Bowl was a malfunction of them trying to manipulate the temperature. Like it was ice because they had this new system that was supposed to heat, and it broke. And so all the water froze. It froze the field. It wasn't supposed to do that. But freezing the field, I'm just telling you, the worst part of this. So the potential of having Super Bowls anywhere in the country, I think, should get exciting. And quite frankly, you should just rotate it. Like every team throughout the league should get a chance to actually, host a Super Bowl. That would be cool. I think that would be interesting. And the other thing, I don't care who you are. I know they've done studies on this, and the studies have been, inconclusive about injuries. Did you get more injuries from one over the other? And I'll just tell you right now, no. You get more injuries on artificial turf. You will never convince me, ever in a million years, that there's the same injuries. Grass is how football should be played, and I've seen it. In 1990, they had the technology to grow grass indoors, and they have the technology to change the roof. So do it. Come on, people. We need better. All right, this has been the Down and Dirty here on ESPN 792.1 FM. So glad you could join us. Thank you for being a part of our show. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, everyone. The Sean O'Connell Show is, of course, next. You want to tune into that. Until then, we'll see you then.